guys, welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show. We give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. Guy on the sidewalk today told me it might rain today. You should run with that as a headline story.
Also here is Jon Schnepp.
I love that rain clickbait. Every time they say, oh, precipitation, I'm like clicking on it. I can't stop clicking on it.
Also here is Jeremy Jahns.
Hey guys, what's up?
Okay, also here, Mark Ellis.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy Van Halentine's Day to everybody. Unchain your heart. We all have dreams, so when love walks in, dance the night away. It feels so good.
Oh my God.
Panama.
Yeah.
That was actually that was not bad.
I didn't even practice that beforehand. I just love that
That was pretty good.
Kinda perfect.
It is Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day. You know, I'll never forget my first Valentine's Day in Los Angeles. I had an apartment at the Poinsettia Apartments right in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, right next door to this big Ralph's. And I remember I was dating somebody at the time, but they still live back in Canada. So I thought I'm going to go get myself dinner. And I found out that in Los Angeles, two things. Number one, women who are single on Valentine's Day go in mass to Ralph's, buy bottles of wine for themselves and ice cream. Because the rows and aisles in that Ralph's were filled with single women buying bottles of wine and cartons of ice cream. I also found out that men who are single sit alone in bars. Because I ran over to meet a buddy of mine for a second in a bar filled with single guys all drinking alone. Los Angeles can be a sad place.
I know that's the rock and roll Ralphs. That's what they call it.
Is they call it the Rock and Roll?
That's right.
Well, it's also right beside the Guitar Center.
Yeah. That's why they call it the Rock and Roll Ralphs. And my first Valentine's Day in Los Angeles, I was one of those single guys you're talking about. I spent mine at a 5-star restaurant called Hooters.
You could find me later on today in my best suit, hanging out at Ralph's.
Actually, I am curious, Ashley. When was the last... I'm just curious. The last Valentine's Day that you were single, and what did you do with yourself?
Well, the last... I have a few weird stories. The last Valentine's Day, I can remember that stood out was that me and my best friend, we were in long-distance relationships in college. Worst idea ever. Advice to you, if you're in a long-distance relationship in college, dump the effer because it's pointless and you'll regret it later on in life. But anyways, we got a pizza, we got drunk, and then the following day, we went to Soup Plantation and we threw ice cream at each other in the parking lot. I don't know. Clearly, it was a crazy Valentine's Day.
What about you, Wendy? When was the last Valentine's Day you were single, and what did you do?
It's been a while since I've been single.
Oh,
Sorry.
good girl.
I probably either, because I think I was working at the Cheesecake Factory at the time, either I was sulking and having to work a shift at the Cheesecake Factory, which is the worst on Valentine's Day, or I hung out with my girlfriends and ate pizza and watched TV.
All right, so I'm sensing a theme here amongst all of us. All right, with all of that nonsense out of the way, let's go on to story number one.
In a recent interview with the LA Times, Laurence Fishburne was speaking about his most recent turn in John Wick Chapter Two when the conversation turned to DC and his involvement in Justice League. The actor confirmed that he will not be appearing in the movie, revealing that they did ask him, but scheduling got in the way. Fishburne then went on to say that he is a huge comic book fan, using some particularly strong words about the live-action DC Extended Universe compared to Marvel. He said, "We've been waiting 35 years for these characters to show up on the screen. What were they doing over there? Marvel has been kicking their ass. This is the comic book geek in me who has a collection of comic books. I've been waiting to see these people on screen forever." John, what do you think about the comments made by Laurence Fishburne?
I am of dual minds on it. On one hand, he's saying some pretty cool stuff, and you get into the history. I've actually seen some stuff on Laurence Fishburne before. He's a bona fide nerd. He really is. He's this great dichotomy of a really classy guy who can pull off the tux and the suit, and you'll find him in a Morton steakhouse, using the right cutlery. Like the dude, he's a true gentleman. And on the other side, he's got like sideshow collectible toys in his den at the same time, and Gentle Giant toys and all this kind of crap. So he's got that duality going on. I think that's really cool. Look, when you're involved, though, with that production, when you're involved, and I know he's not going to be in Justice League, and that's unfortunate. Actually, I love him as Perry White. And, everybody knows I love Man of Steel. I think the movie's a masterpiece, and I enjoyed Batman v Superman. And whenever he's on screen, he's awesome. So I'm a little bit disappointed that he's not going to be in Justice League, though I understand tons of characters. You need proper screen time. And it sounded like he was only going to, the one role he was going to have was going to be just for a day anyway, so it probably would have been pretty small. So I'm regretful that he's not there. But you do have to be cognizant, if you are in the production and you are in that movie universe, you probably shouldn't say this other company is kicking this company, the company I'm involved with, ass. You probably shouldn't say. It's probably just a poor choice of words. He's right. I mean, theoretically they are, but it's not a competition. I still maintain to this day that Marvel wants DC to succeed, and DC wants Marvel to succeed because the better the culture and environment of the overall comic book movie universe, the more fans that love it and get plunged into it, the better it is for everybody. So I think it's not a competition. They both want each other to succeed because that's only good for everybody when they do. But it's probably poor choice of words. I don't know, Schnepp, you saw this. What did you think?
Well, I mean, especially since he's a comic book fan, he wants to see, some of his other comments were like, you don't need Perry White in Justice League. You need the Flash. You need the Lantern. He was like basically saying he felt like, why should, even though he said conflicts, scheduling conflicts, I don't necessarily believe that. I think he was like, I'm sitting this one out, fellas. I want to watch Justice League, do a good movie. That's what I get the feeling that he really wants the DC universe to succeed. And he's right, though. Marvel is kicking their ass. So there's nothing wrong with him saying that, even though he's playing Perry White. He's like, he's eventually going to play for both sides, just like Willem Dafoe. He was like Green Goblin, now he's Falco. Or, everyone's like, I'm this character in the DC world, then I jump over to Marvel, back and forth. You have Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern, now he's Deadpool. So, all actors, they'll eventually take any role. Right now he's Perry White. We don't know what he's going to be in the future.
Jeremy.
Well, first of all, you have never complimented me on my suit to Hot Toys ratio, my friend.
That's
so that
true.
is a thing. That is real right here. But, the thing about Laurence Fishburne. Oh, what's this?
Here, I'll give this to you.
Oh, I got a Valentine from... It's mine now.
Is it rude to secondhand gift a Valentine's Day card?
Kind of, John.
Okay, sorry.
You need
I'll
to
take
take
that back later.
I called that being an Indian giver. I gave that to him earlier. I really didn't. I could see the point of him being able to step back and go, you know what? I didn't film it all. I get to just watch a movie and have a good time. That's actually a really cool thing for him. Whether or not Marvel is kicking DC's ass, yes, they are. But I was kind of looking into it when I saw that he said this. And if you look at, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, Batman vs. Superman made more than Guardians of the Galaxy. We're talking worldwide. And so it's really funny how Guardians of the Galaxy...
But shouldn't it have?
No. I think that if Batman and Superman are on screen, that should make more money than any movie ever made, personally. But it's the critical reception is where DC's getting hammered. It's not necessarily... Because we live in a world where we're like, that movie made $700 million. Marvel's really letting it live. Yeah, they're kicking our ass. What can I say? So it's kind of a funny thing that's like, well, if it doesn't cross $1 billion, it's really not the big success we want it to be. But so I feel like he must be talking about something behind the scenes, and maybe that's just me theorizing because there's always something we hear about behind the scenes in the DC world. But I do think that Perry White being in it would have kind of, like, that's a bit much, since we do have J.K. Simmons as Alfred, who's supposedly going... Gordon. Yeah, I'm getting my Batman friends
Scar is Alfred.
Yeah,
Scar is Alfred.
Yeah. Scar, that's his real name, not Jeremy Irons. I can't remember that because, hey, same first name. But no, he's Jim Gordon. So, I mean, that you would think that the cop would have a better place in it than Perry White. But I agree with you. I do love seeing him as Perry White. But I'm glad for him, being a nerd, that he gets to sit back, no pressure, enjoy himself a movie.
Speaking of Scar Alfred, one of his other personalities, Simon Gruber, was a part of the wild card match yesterday for our March Madness tournament villains. It was Simon Gruber, of course, played by Jeremy Irons, going up against Regina George of Mean Girls by good Canadian girl Rachel McAdams. Regina George won.
Woo! You're calling it?
We're calling it. I just realized the thing has
What are you,
expired.
Fox News? You're just going to go ahead and say this is what's happening? Come on.
The poll time actually expired. Regina George, the last check, I believe she won 56% to 44%. So Simon Gruber is out of the tournament. Regina George of the Mean Girls advances into the tournament. She will be the number 16 seed on one of the brackets there. But anyway, Mark.
Yes.
Let's get back to, that was just a perfect segue that Jeremy set me up for. Let's get back to Perry White here. Your thoughts on all of this.
I still want to play a game with John McClane. As far as Perry White, first of all, we don't need him in Justice League. He's totally right. He would have shown up for a day. And what's he going to lend to that movie? Is he going to be yelling at Lois Lane because Clark Kent's obituary page is too big? Like, we don't care. We don't need that in Justice League. And I love, because it's in such short supply these days, to see an actor just come out and be honest. I like when we get to see this, because so many times they choose their words so carefully, they're very politically correct, or they're cagey, and Laurence Fishburne is just giving his take on that. I agree with Jeremy's point that when you look at it from a certain point of view, DC and Marvel are neck and neck when it comes to worldwide box office and things like that, but the critical reception of Marvel movies has been so much better than the DCEU, and that's just fact, and Laurence Fishburne is simply stating that he agrees with that opinion. And to your point, John, I think Marvel and DC would appreciate each other's films being good to a point. I think Marvel loves the position they're in right now, though, because everybody still goes out to see DC movies, but they don't get the same response that Marvel movies get. So people still want to see comic book movies. They're just going to keep saying that Marvel films are better until DCU can get on the right track.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I just think that, if you're Marvel, you want DC films to do well in the sense that you want the audience to like them and appreciate them and look forward to going back to the movie theater to see the next comic book movie, which will probably be a Marvel film. But you're absolutely right. Once everybody's healthy and everything's doing well, they still want to be the ones that are preferred, sure. I just don't... DC does not want Marvel to fail, though, and Marvel does not want DC to fail, because that's just bad for business.
I think DC would take a couple Marvel failures.
Okay, yeah, maybe right now. Maybe
I was going to add that, Fishburne also said that he loved the casting of Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor, that the Martha thing didn't bother him. So it's not that he hates Batman v Superman, that he's against
No, not at all.
the movies. I think it really is the critical reception. He's like, look, and that's why even if he's sitting out Just League, all of us kind of feel like, hey, Just League could be amazing. So, I'm hoping it's incredible.
Look, let's just... The trailer was great.
Yeah.
I mean, the only real thing we have to go on whether Justice League will be any good so far is how was the first trailer? And I thought the first trailer was great. It wasn't as good as the Wonder Woman trailer,
right,
which I still think was the best trailer that came out of Comic-Con last year. I think it was the best trailer of 2016 was the Wonder Woman trailer. So that's all we have to go on at this point. Is it fair for somebody to have some skepticism about it? Sure, absolutely, it's fair. But the only thing concrete we have to go on as far as Justice League goes is that first trailer. We're going to see more, I'm sure, very, very soon. And then we'll, evolve our opinions at that point. But so far, what we've seen looks good. And now whether it continues that way, we'll wait and see. All right, what's next?
THR reports that Fast and Furious producer Neil Moritz and his original film's Banner have picked up the rights to the comic talent and is teaming up with Boom Studios to adapt it into a movie franchise. The comic tells the story of a college professor who was the sole survivor of a plane wreck who slowly discovers he inherited the abilities of the passengers who have died. He puts his new talents to use as he finds himself chased down by members of a shadowy government organization. Original Films will now search for a writer to begin scripting with a release date yet to be determined. Schnepp, thoughts on a movie adaptation based on Talent?
So Talent came out several years ago, and that's one of those comics that I kind of flipped through when I was at the comic book store and didn't pick up. It's like at this point in our lives, there's like hundreds of comics come out every month, so you have to kind of pick and choose. They're all pretty expensive too, $3.99, $4.99. Not made of money, guys. What's going on? Anyway, hearing the actual what Talent's about makes me kind of interested to go back and maybe check out the trade paperback. Sounds pretty exciting. I think I can't wait to see the movie and read the comic now.
What's really interesting about it, too, is that when you're reading the description, it starts off sounding a little bit about, Unbreakable.
Yes.
The lone survivor of this fatal crash. But this whole notion that all of a sudden he has the skills and abilities of everybody else who's on the plane, that's kind of cool. That's kind of original. Boom, right now, they've got a horror film coming out. I know they're in post-production of a horror film of theirs right now. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The Empty Man. The Empty Man is what it's called. So we've got that start of their universe coming, if you will. Whether or not they're going to try to create some kind of shared universe, we don't know at this point. This sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a Unbreakable meets Shang Tsung vibe, because he gets everybody else's powers from the airplane, which is neat, but you're inheriting other people's abilities. What are you going to do with, the guy's ability from, seat 3F? What do you do? Are they all superheroes on this plane? Or can he live longer? What exactly can you do? I've been on a lot of airplanes, folks. A lot of people who fly on airplanes don't have special abilities. I don't really want what they can do in my body.
Mark, one guy's a medic, the other guy's an incredible chef. The other, you know, that's
So
I'm just
I'll
guessing.
be like,
Yeah.
I'll be like Limitless. I can kind of do a little bit of everything. Or John Travolta and Phenomenon. We're combining a lot of movies right now. The premise sounds neat. I like that that he's gonna have people on his trail. So that's a little bit like Midnight Special, where we have somebody who's a little too talented for their own good. We got to stop him. He's got to figure out a way to not get stopped. This is a fun, original sounding premise, although it is a little bit of a hodgepodge of things we've seen before. But the way it's combined in this description sounds fresh to
All
me.
it takes is one like scientist. All of a sudden, he's got that guy's all of his knowledge, and one Navy SEAL. Man, you don't want to mess with that dude.
Oh yeah, you get like a plainclothes marshal on the
Yeah,
plane,
that's
so
what I'm
he's
saying.
got like some Liam Neeson non-stop moves.
Sounds like a joke. Einstein, Stephen Hawking crash in a plane. And this guy gets his powers. This is going to be I'm waiting for the Shyamalan plot twist. This is an unbreakable comic book. No spoilers, guys. But I agree with you. I know nothing about this comic book. It sounds interesting, and that's what comic books that have adaptations on the big screen or the small screen should do. You see that, and then you get interested in both. One kind of begets the other, and it's this self-sustaining wheel. I picked up comic books. Alan Moore's Swamp Thing got me into it, but then you start picking up the comic books that you know from the movie properties and seeing how they're different. It's a lot of fun. Schnepp and I do that on Awesome-tacular, and it's actually a lot of fun. But yeah, the premise sounds interesting. I want to see where they go with it, but this is all new to me, and so I love the fact that I just learned me some new stuff.
All right, guys. Well, it is Tuesday, which means it's time for us to talk about what is opening this week. We got 3 major wide-release films coming this week. We're going to talk about 2 of them today. Ashley, what's up first?
Fist fight. On the last day of the year, mild-mannered high school English teacher Andy Campbell, Charlie Day, is trying his best to keep it together on the last day of school. But things go from bad to worse when he accidentally crosses his much tougher and deeply feared colleague, Ron Strickland, Ice Cube, who challenges Campbell to an old-fashioned throwdown after school. Also coming out is The Great Wall. European mercenaries searching for black powder become embroiled in the defense of the Great Wall of China against a horde of monstrous creatures.
Fist Fight was one of those movies to me that sounded horrible right from the beginning. It sounded like it should be a 7-minute Saturday Night Live sketch. One teacher challenges another teacher to fight. How do you build an entire movie around that? But I admit, the trailers have been kind of, especially the most recent trailers, I found humorous and funny, so I'm looking forward to going to see it. Great Wall. No. I don't know. I've watched all the trailers. Nothing about it looks interesting. And maybe, because I guess we're going to go see it tomorrow night, maybe it's going to be one of those movies where, like, holy crap, the trailers look terrible, but the movie was, wow. Maybe this is just one of those movies that, like, John Carter didn't know how to market itself, and it'll turn out being amazing. So I don't know. All I can go by is by what I think of these projects right now. If I had to pick one to go to tonight, I'm probably picking Fist Fight. What about you, Schnepp?
Well, the one that's probably better directed is The Great Wall, which I'm calling World War Lizard, is what it reminds me of, like all the scrambling zombies, but now they're a bunch of weird lizards, even less meaningful. Like, just shoot all of them. That's the stakes are zero. For me, like, I saw the trailer, that's all I really need to see until it's available on Netflix so I could fall asleep to it. Like, literally, it's going to be so boring. Like, after you've seen the first 3,000 lizards, how many more lizards do you need to? Like, now we're blowing them up with fire. It just, I mean, there's that action boredom.
What if this lizard from Spider-Man ends up being their king?
He's riding the smaller one.
Yes.
Yeah, then I'm down. Especially if there's humans inside. The lizard's like, I'm a weird mutant.
Well,
That's
I
not
can't
gonna
give you a
happen.
lizard. I can give you Green Goblin because Willem Dafoe's in the movie too.
There
So
you
maybe
go.
we
There
can
we
have
go.
him turn into a lizard man, which I wouldn't put past Dafoe. I like Great Wall is a neat sounding premise because why did they build the Great Wall of China? Oh, it wasn't just for territory. It was actually to keep out a horde of lizards. That's exciting to me. Except every trailer I've seen, the lizards don't really look that good.
Yeah, they look
they look very CGI, which I can get past. And then Matt Damon shows up. It's really okay. So we need to hire Will Hunting to come and do some Bourne stuff to help us defeat the lizards. It sounds good on paper. Then you see the trailer and you're like, this just doesn't jive with me. Fist Fight, on the other hand, looks like it could be really funny, and not just because of the leads. I think Charlie Day is great. Ice Cube can be very funny, as we've seen in movies like 22 Jump Street. Not as good in Ride Along, but I also think Jillian Bell's great. Kumail Nanjiani, Tracy Morgan is in this movie too.
Return of
so
Tracy Morgan.
It looks like it could be a great ensemble cast as opposed to just leading up to this one-on-one battle.
Yeah, the Great Wall of China, it's a marvel of technology. It really is. Was it like a 1,700-year plan to build this thing? Like, we don't get past 8 years of presidency before we start flipping stuff up. Like, I've never seen something take that long to build and someone build it. So I'm saying we could have used a Great Wall of China movie. I don't think this is the movie because I'm with you. I look at it and I'm like, what? This is what we call a paycheck project from Matt Damon. This can't have been a passion project of his. So I've never been interested in it. Fist fight looked like it could have been funny, but there's a big part of me that like really empathizes with Charlie Day, like this scary dude who's just like snitches get stitches in the trailer is gonna fight this nerdy dude. And I'm like, I feel really bad for you, man. Like, you must be scared out of your mind. I've been in those shoes in junior high. It's a scary place. I was a nerd, folks. Tell him you're my cousin. So if I had to pick one, Fist Fight, Great Wall. No, I'm probably going to end up seeing Great Wall before Fist Fight because I missed the screening for Fist Fight.
Right.
But such is life. Such is the world.
I'm going to see Fist Fight because it reminds me of an adult version of 3 O'Clock High.
It
3 O'Clock
does.
High.
Yeah.
Really, really underrated movie from the 80s. Y'all should check that out. Fist Fight Ceiling, I think, is to be the early contender for funniest comedy of the year, although Lego Batman's pretty damn funny.
Oh, yeah.
I think The Ceiling for Great Wall is a movie where you can go and shove a lot of popcorn in your face. Maybe I'll check that out in St. Louis. I'm definitely going to go see Fist Fight because I hope every comedy is really funny. Great Wall, I don't really get my hopes up for.
It might be a comedy.
It could be.
We've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her ass, she's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table will say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Details about the X-Men Apocalypse sequel haven't been announced, but if Sophie Turner is to be believed, the next film in the series will begin shooting sometime this year. Speaking to Hey You Guys on the red carpet of the BAFTA Awards, the Game of Thrones actress was asked what projects she has coming up next. She replied, "We're about to start shooting the next X-Men. We've just finished shooting season 7 of Game of Thrones, and I've got a couple of movies to do before X-Men starts. And then we go on to season 8. So I've got a busy year lined up." Mark, based on Sophie Turner's comment, do you buy or sell a new X-Men movie filming this year?
Well, I don't trust a Stark as far as I can throw her, but I will say that Sophie Turner, this is exciting. It's nice to see how busy her schedule is because she's a very talented actress. But the future of X-Men, we know, as John likes to say, that they have a certain mantra that every X-Men movie goes through, and I'll let him say what it is. But they're going to have fun with these timelines. They're not necessarily going to be beholden to anything that has come before it. I wonder if the new Logan movie is going to shake up the landscape at all, though. I wonder if that's going to harken back to something that will lead into the next X-Men movie, because yes, this Logan film looks like a very standalone project, but I wonder if they're going to be planting little seeds of what the future or the past might hold for the new X-Men movies.
Well, didn't Hugh Jackman at one point recently say that this Logan movie kind of stands outside of the X-Men timeline? Really, every X-Men movie has to one degree.
What's
or
their
another.
mantra?
Continuity, schmontinuity.
Yeah.
They really don't care. And you know what? It's worked for them for the most part. I mean, look, some of my favorite comic book movies are X-Men films. X-Men, the original, is fantastic. X-Men 2, for a long time, was my favorite comic book film of all time. Yeah. X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past is incredible. I wasn't so happy with Apocalypse, but I mean, there you go. It seems like they have, maybe a couple good ones, bad one, couple good ones, bad one, whatever they were kind of do. I buy this. Although I will say this, I wasn't thrilled with Sophie as Jean Grey. It's not that she's not a great actress. We've seen her in stuff be spectacular. It's just a wonder. I don't know if it was the right fit or not. So I am curious to see where they go. I'm glad they're not switching actresses again. So I'm going to very mildly give it a buy.
That's my issue with this, too, is that she doesn't seem that excited about X-Men. Like, nobody from this new class, or the first class, if you will, seems as pumped to be X-Men as what we got with the original, the 99 or 2000 movie, moving forward. So I feel like I'm a Laker fan, and there's no more Kobe, there's no more Shaq. We're just looking at all these young kids that are trying to be the Lakers, and I'm not sure that they can do that yet.
Interesting. All right.
I'm totally buying the fact that she is going to be Jean Grey, or not going to be Jean Grey. She's going to be the Phoenix, because on this table we asked what comic book villain would you like to see, female villain. I was like, Dark Phoenix. I want to see Dark Phoenix. And now I'm kind of curious, because if you see the Logan trailer, it's very desolate, very barren. I'd like to see if he's like, yeah, after that Phoenix thing, everything just went to shit, So you just never really know,
Right.
So you don't know how it's going to, because of course he's going to say, no, it totally doesn't tie in. He's supposed to say that. He's like marketing a movie that if you want a surprise, you're going to see a surprise, and they're going to hopefully keep it under wraps. But I mean, I think she's a great actress. I thought she was fine as Jean. I liked her and Scott. Like, their dynamic. I liked seeing that grow, you know. So I'm more with Mark, I think. I think you and I are more on the same page. It's like, Apocalypse was entertaining in its own entertainment value, but I didn't hate the movie. But I totally thought they were done with these. I thought that they were done with this line of X-Men, and they're going to do Logan and then reboot. Looks like, oh, well, the first-class folks still have another shot to bring Dark Phoenix. So who knows what's happening next week? It could be completely different, but I do want to see the Phoenix Saga, so I'm buying it.
Schnepp.
Yeah, I'm buying it too. You know, we're going to get really sweaty about this topic on Heroes later today, so check it out. But what I do think is I actually think Sophie Turner is into it. I think they were just catching her like on the carpet. She was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. So I've heard her talk about playing Jean Grey, and she's really invested in the character. That part of X-Men Apocalypse was my favorite part. I could have thrown the Apocalypse part away and watching all the new Scott Summers, the new Jean Grey, Nightcrawler. I want to see an entire movie with them, and it looks like that's what we're going to get. And I'm pretty sure Simon Kinberg is directing this as well as writing it. He's been with the X-Men franchise pretty much from the beginning. So I think a lot of people were really disappointed with X-Men 3 with the Dark Phoenix, kind of not Dark Phoenix, kind of poopy ending where they had that happen and it wasn't really what was supposed to happen. So I think what they're doing is they're retconning the Dark Phoenix, and hopefully they do it right this time.
All right, what's next?
A new trailer for The Bad Batch has been released by Annapurna Pictures. The film stars Suki Waterhouse, Jason Momoa, Giovanni Ribisi, Keanu Reeves, Jim Carrey, and Diego Luna, and is the follow-up to writer-director Anna Lily Amirpour's critically acclaimed debut feature, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. The Bad Batch follows Arlen, played by Waterhouse, as she is unceremoniously dumped in a Texas wasteland and fenced off from civilized society. While trying to orient her environment, she is captured by a savage band of cannibals and quickly realizes she'll have to fight her way through her new reality. The movie is set for release on June 23rd. Jeremy, buy or sell the new trailer for The Bad Batch?
I was a Mad Max Fury Road fan. I'm a Jason Momoa fan. You toss Jim Carrey in there in grade B Mad Max. I'm selling it totally. This trailer didn't do anything for me. I was looking at it. I was like, you really see the difference between someone who can film a Mad Max-ish movie and someone who's doing a student Mad Max film. And that's what this kind of felt like. It's just the trailer itself. The premise sounds interesting, but the trailer itself is so choppy and so shoddy. You walk away going, all right. That's really cool. Sophie Turner wants to be Phoenix. That's great. And then you just think about other stuff. So I'm selling this.
This trailer's terrible. I'm a big fan of Momoa. I'm a huge fan of Momoa. I mean, you got Keanu Reeves in there, Giovanni Ribisi. But I mean, right? You're so right. It felt like a student Mad Max film. And even like, I'm sure there's a bunch of music nerds out there who are going to start writing in saying, no, John, it was this. It sounded like they went to Walmart, bought the $79 Casio keyboard, and that's the music that
Demo
they get.
number 2.
Yeah, and that's the music through. It felt just odd. Just felt like odd. Odd is neither good nor bad. It just is, and maybe you can use it for good or bad, but felt really stupid to me. So this trailer did not make me interested at all in seeing the film, so I got to give it a buy, or a sell, I should
I'm going
say.
to turn your frowns upside down because I looked at this trailer and it was like, hey, good, the gang from The Hills Have Eyes have formed like a Kiwanis club. Like, now they have like an all-inclusive community. I can't buy this trailer, though, because it didn't hook me on the movie. It made me want to see the film less after reading the premise. I was mildly enthused. Jim Carrey, I'm a huge fan of. I was looking for him in the trailer. I think I saw him. I'm not sure if I saw him. I definitely didn't recognize Diego Luna if he did appear in the trailer. Big Momoa fan, obviously. I can't really get behind this. Doesn't seem like this movie is made for a lot of people. Even if you're a horror thriller fan, you might have to have a certain taste to want to go see this movie. I need more from the next trailer.
Well, I'm going to fight these guys. I'm buying it. I got a certain taste for it. It definitely, I'm not going to disagree with any of your points. It had that kind of student film Mad Max flavor to it, but that didn't bother me. I was kind of like, cool, a student film Mad Max, you know? And literally, it just looked weird enough where it's so different that's what was intriguing to me. It's like, oh, a bunch of these weirdos hanging out in the desert, and they eat people, and they've got some kind of ethics and code that they go by, and then they're going to have to fight the well-dressed man played by Keanu Reeves. So, just seeing that made me interested enough to want to see the film, so I'm going to buy the trailer.
I totally forgot that Keanu Reeves was a well-dressed man in this movie, and I'm selling the trailer even harder.
With a pipe.
I love
With
the
a
fact that
pipe.
I love the fact that you were like, I'm going to stand alone on this one. You committed. I love that, buddy.
All right, what's next?
The release of Star Wars The Last Jedi is about 10 months away, and we haven't seen a single frame from the film yet. However, we do have an update on the score that will be composed by the great John Williams, and it proves to be an interesting little scoop that shows what is happening with the scoring and post-production on the highly anticipated movie. Thanks to a tweet from our very own Robert Meyer Burnett, it appears John Williams is already hard at work on the score in order to supply Rian Johnson the music, to which he will edit the movie. We reached out to Robert, who confirmed his report, saying it comes from a very reliable source. Here's what Robert tweeted. Last Jedi scoring update. Last Thursday was John Williams' 85th birthday. He's conducting. Rian Johnson wants to use the score for editing. John, based on the report, do you buy or sell John Williams already scoring The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I buy it. It's a little bit out of the ordinary for him at this point, but we heard reports probably 2 or 3 months ago that he was gearing up to start conducting and composing for the film anyway. They obviously wanted to approach this one a little bit different. Rian Johnson felt that he wanted to match some of his editing to Williams' score as opposed to what Williams normally does, which is Williams usually composes his music and architects it around the editing itself. So they're doing a little bit of reversal. I'm sure a lot more of it's going to come later. Like some of the bigger pieces, he'll do that once the edit's done. But this is completely consistent with the reports we heard a few months ago, so I completely buy it. Schnepp.
Yeah, very excited to hear that. I mean, I'm very happy that John Williams is returning, even though he's retired. 85th birthday. Every score that he's ever made is fantastic. So that he's coming back to Star Wars is fantastic, and that he's scoring a picture. That's really cool that Ryan is doing that, where he's getting the score and he's going to edit to music, which is so. If you've anyone who's ever edited, you know that if you're using a temp track and you fall in love with that temp track, then you have to replace it with something that's different.
Almost identical if you can.
Yeah, if you can, almost identical, but it still throws it off a little bit. It's never exactly the perfect thing that you locked in, and that's what I think Rian Johnson is doing. He's like, I'm going to get this perfect. Certain scenes are going to be perfect, so I'm very much into it.
Yeah, it's good to have context to it because, like you said, a couple months ago, it was like, well, we already heard that he was going to compose it, so the speculation was, wait, so the movie must be cut together now, so why don't we have a trailer? Because the movie is straight up done if John Williams is composing. Now we have context to it. Now we know, Williams is composing, and then he's going to edit around it, which makes a little more sense. Props to John Williams for still crushing it at 85 years, but I'm glad we now know what we were talking about 2 or 3 months ago.
This is the exact reason why I follow Robert Meyer Burnett on Twitter, because he has his finger on the pulse of what John Williams is doing on a daily basis, and I need to know that. If he's scoring the movie, great. If he's at Subway, I want to know what he ordered. If he goes bowling, I want to know what he rolled. I love John Williams just that much, and the fact that he's scoring this not only seems to indicate that it's for editing purposes for Rian Johnson, but also that we're going to get a trailer sooner rather than later, because if you remember when The Force Awakens was coming out, we also heard reports that John Williams was going to be scoring the trailer and then score the movie. He scored the trailer. That trailer was terrific. Chewie, we're home. You had the first one with the Kylo Ren lightsaber scene that wasn't in the movie. Doesn't matter. Got us excited about Star Wars again. I want to see a new trailer sooner rather than later. So John Williams, get that conductor thing flinging and tell those people what to do.
All right, guys. Well, we do this show live, and as doing so, we like to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions. How do you do that? Simple. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video and start firing in some questions on there, and Wendy will pick out a couple near the end. But I also want to remind you that Movie Talk is not the only show on Collider Video. As a matter of fact, a little bit later today, Jon Schnepp and Heroes will be up. Look for that around 2:30 Pacific Standard Time is when that goes online. Also, yesterday, a brand new episode of Josh McCougan and his crew of TV Talk. That went online. The movie Trivia Schmodown Tag Team Championship is on the line today. It goes up around 1:30 Pacific Standard Time as the champions, the Patriots, will take on their nemesis, Team Trek, with Scott Mantz and Jason Inman. A brand new Crash Course with Who's Miles Morales went online. And, of course, Jeremy Johns' show, Awesome-tacular. A new episode went up on Friday. Check that out on Verizon Go 90. All right, now before we get to your Twitter questions, we want to go to the mailbag. So listen, if you've got a topic or a question you want us to address on the show, just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Ashley, what's in the mailbag today?
Josh writes, hey Collider crew, love everything you do. You make doing household chores so much much more enjoyable while I'm listening to you. Back in 2012, Tom Cruise was set to star in a reboot of Van Helsing, but after that was canned, Tom was announced to be starring in The Mummy, which was also being written by the Van Helsing writer. What are the chances that in The Mummy, Tom Cruise is actually revealed to be playing Van Helsing as some sort of family descendant or something?
You know, in the online universe of wacko conspiracy theories, this ain't all that wacko.
No.
I mean, at all. Like, look, we already know from seeing from the trailer, he goes down in the plane, he's killed, and he comes back. Now, maybe that's because he was around the magical power of the mummy, or maybe there's something deeper going on. Is it outside of the realm of possibility that, no, actually, he is the reincarnated Van Helsing? Is his fate forever tied to those of certain monsters within this new universal universe of monsters? Is he destined to be there to fight the mummy? That's not a crazy thought. Had the trailer just not shown us Tom Cruise dying, maybe it is a little bit nuts. But honestly, it's not that far-fetched. So I would say there's a good 20% chance that you're on the right path there somewhere. Mark, what do you think?
I love this idea, but I have to make an amendment first. Did I say John Williams scored Rogue One? I meant The Force Awakens. What did I say? Anybody? No? We're good.
I thought you said
All
Cabbage
right.
Patch Kids.
Huh?
I thought
the
you said
Cabbage
Bad
Patch
News
Kids.
Bears.
He scored Turtles in Time, Ninja Turtles 3, Jeremy Johnson's favorite Ninja Turtles movie. I think this would be cool if Tom Cruise was Van Helsing. It would add to the lore a little bit. I don't really care either way. I looked at the character names because I occasionally do research for this show. As of right now, Tom Cruise's character that he's playing in The Mummy is named Nick Morton. Sounds fake, sounds witness protection programmy. Maybe it's a cover for Van Helsing.
Oh, yeah. And I must say, Benedict Cumberbatch played John Harrison in Star Trek Into Darkness. He totally did. I'm gonna go a little more than, what'd you say, 25%?
Say 20, yeah.
I'll bump it up to 30-something. As a fan of the Castlevania games, it's not out of the realm of reality in a world where Dracula is locked into a bloodline, and that bloodline is cursed to fight him. Even if this dude doesn't know he's there, boom, he dies around the mummy, gets resurrected, his fate is sealed, and then later on down the road, he fights Dracula, and it's Luke Evans, right? That was part of this whole
He's not,
cinematic-
but he's out now.
He's out now,
Yeah.
but was that movie
Yes.
supposed
That was,
to be a
I
part of
believe,
this
I
universe?
think originally it was going to be like the kickoff to the Monster
Yeah.
Universe, and then they kind
And
of
then they were like,
swept that
nah,
away.
the mummy's now the new start.
Yeah,
Okay,
then
all
they
right.
saw the movie and they're like, this Dracula Untold movie should stay untold.
Well,
Yes.
I think Luke Evans should be in everything. You should bring Gaston back to fight Tom Cruise. Gaston versus Maverick, a winner take all. But I think that's a very good theory, honestly, and it actually gets me kind of excited for it. Like Tom Cruise is a little less out of place because of that, so I like that. Good theory.
Schnepp.
I am going to up the percentages, 20, 37, going 50.
Nice.
Because after I read that, I remember it because Tom Cruise is going to be in every film. He's tying this franchise together, and I know they brought in.
didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that.
That was
Okay.
originally announced. It was like, oh, he's going to be like kind of like, you know, the Mission Impossible dude who's tying all the monsters. That if he's Van Helsing, that completely
He's going to be the
makes
Nick
sense.
Fury of this thing?
Pretty much, yeah. But they brought in Russell Crowe to play Jekyll.
Yeah.
And I know Jekyll is also going to kind of be in a lot of the other films. I don't even know if they haven't announced a Jekyll and Hyde film, but I think Jekyll is going to be like the Hulk for the Avengers. He's going to show up and I'm hiding out, you know, whatever, freaking out.
Remember
or
him in
whatever.
League of Extraordinary
I
Gentlemen?
was gonna say, this sounds like a reboot
But this
of
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is extraordinarily horrible and a garbage film, so we're not really going to talk about that. But I want to see a good Jekyll and Hyde film. I think Russell Crowe as Jekyll and Hyde, Tom Cruise as Van Helsing, you're bringing it. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, so when Tom Cruise like wakes up, because he was in a plane crash,
Right.
Right, and then there's like a bunch of dead people in the morgue. Then he wakes up. So is that like, are we saying that it's because he's got this ancient bloodline connecting him, or was that some sort of weird mummy power
But
that
we
kept
don't,
him
that's
alive?
a trailer. We don't even
Yeah.
know if those scenes cut together right. Maybe he wakes up in the beginning of the film in a morgue, and then that he jumps out and has a parachute at the end of that. We don't know how those cut together. We're getting tricked by the trailer.
In a world where Bruce Willis survives a train wreck and becomes the unbreakable guy, I guess we'll see when the movie comes out. But I'm going to price this right. Yeah, I'm going to say 51 now. That was a great hypothesis.
All right, what's next?
John writes, hello, Collider crew. With Denzel Washington's Best Lead Actor win at the SAG Awards for Fences and Casey Affleck's win at the BAFTA for Manchester by the Sea, the Oscar race seems to be neck and neck now. I thought Casey Affleck was a favorite, but now who knows? So who will win the Best Lead Actor Oscar? Thanks and keep up the great work.
It's tight. it's going to be a tight one because I still really do believe that Andrew Garfield has an outside shot at winning this as well. I think there's a lot of Academy members that are thinking this might be one of those accumulation years because had he not been nominated for Hacksaw Ridge, he probably would have been nominated for Silence. So I think that's a shot too. If I had to put money on it, I had $5 bill and I had to put it down on something, I would probably still bet that Casey Affleck might pull it out. I mean, he made, honestly, I watched Manchester by the Sea again. I actually don't think it's that great of a movie. I thought it was good the first time I saw it, but it was elevated by the performances in it. And Casey Affleck's only one of them, but the performances in that movie is what elevated that. And then I watched it again, I was like, yeah, I like the movie even less, but the performances were even more impressive nonetheless. So I would probably still give a slight nod to Casey Affleck. I think he's got the shot at it that's the best, but could go a lot of different ways. What do you think?
Well, Manchester by the Sea isn't exactly like a rewatchable yuck
Yes.
fest, you know? So, hey, it's Saturday night, guys. Come on over. Put on Manchester by the Sea, and we're all going to have a good cry and light some candles. I am still going to go with Denzel Washington. I think it is a tight race, but I think that Denzel gets the nod simply because a lot of times the Academy, if there is a tie, it appears that the way they vote is, well, I really like this performance and I like this performance, but I also like all these other movies that this guy should have won an Academy Award for and didn't. So I think they're going to give the nod to Denzel.
And let's not forget, too, if we start watching the Oscars, if La La Land starts sweeping up everything, don't count out Ryan Gosling.
Sure.
I don't think he should win, but don't count that out as a strong
I'm actually
possibility.
going to say Ryan Gosling's going to win because I think La La Land's going to sweep it. So, I mean, I think Denzel should win. I thought his performance was the best out of him, but Ryan Gosling did a fantastic job. La La Land, even though if you didn't enjoy the film, you know, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's a musical that's not really a musical. It's meta. Get into it. I loved it. So I think I'd love to see it be a sweep film for La La
Jeremy.
Land.
I love how you were like, it's Deadpool with songs. Come on, get on that. It's meta. If I had a coin, I'd flip it for you right now. I don't have it. I was honestly I was checking my pockets. I was like, I don't have a quarter.
Nobody carries money anymore.
Yeah, right. I had a coin flip app for a little while for Magic the Gathering
That's
purposes.
sad. Really?
Yeah,
A coin flip
I really
app?
did. I don't have it anymore. I'll say Denzel just because I'm forced to pick one. But at that point, man, honestly, I'm the worst person to put their vote on for Academy Award, you know, bets and whatnot. Anytime I'm in a
So
room,
you're saying
to
you're
pick-
not going to do good with our pool this year?
I'm saying I'm gonna get killed on your pool, and I saw your eyes just light up, just gleam like money.
How much money are we throwing in the pool this year?
So pumped.
$300.
300? What?
No.
Yeah,
I don't-
300 now.
20 bucks. 20 bucks each.
Is it $20 each?
Well, I'm just making
Probably
it up right
10.
now.
I think last year?
Last year was
10.
10.
Yeah,
We
when
should
he
up
says
it.
last year was
We should
10.
up it to
I
20.
agree.
I'll go as high as $12.
Come on, cheapo. 20
Who
bucks.
won last year, by the way?
Harry, no?
Did Perry win last year?
Dennis,
No,
do you
Makuga and I thought Makuga and Nemiroff tied.
Okay, that.
But
yeah.
Makuga usually I love the guy to death. There's a lot of eraser marks around his back.
Ooh, this year we should make everybody write in pen.
Yeah, this
right.
year it has to be a 10.
Sharpie.
Collider Gate.
All right. Well, guys, I said we'd save some time for some of your live Twitter questions. I'm going to do that right now. Wendy, what have you picked out?
The first one comes from Kylo Ben, who writes, "How come the founder didn't get any Oscar attention? I thought that movie was fantastic."
Look, this is just goes back to the point about why the Oscars are as prestigious, as important as they are, and how almost impossibly hard they are to win. The Founder was great. It wasn't as good as a lot of the other films that were out there, though, and that's what sucks. Maybe there are some other years, some weaker years that The Founder, had that come out that year, they might have gotten a couple nominations. But honestly, Keaton was great in it. He wasn't better than Garfield or Gosling or Washington or Affleck or Mortensen or... it didn't belong in there. So the reason it didn't get in is because it didn't. It's a great movie, but it didn't deserve to be in the top.
Also, McDonald's
5 or 10.
did not put enough money in the pockets of those people who had the vote. A couple of free McNuggets you could have got in there.
Anybody else have anything to add to
I
that?
thought John Carroll Lynch was so good as one of the McDonald brothers.
And Nick
I thought,
Offerman should have
Nick
won that.
Offerman was
yeah,
really
I mean,
good
they
too.
were both, but it is, John's right, it's such a stacked year when it comes to actual quality films and with the performances in those movies that a film like The Founder in another year could have been nominated for a lot of awards. I loved it. And ironically, I got really hungry for McDonald's watching that movie. Even though it's not the best advertisement for McDonald's, as it turns out, I really wanted the 2 cheeseburgers meal.
You're going to find out every 300th frame there's a McDonald's arch that you just totally missed while you were watching
Because you
it.
see Grimace like in the background.
Yeah, Mary McCheese.
Fries.
Yeah, but it seems like every year becomes a stacked year. You know, I mean, I can't speak for the Academy, but anytime I'm making my top 10, I'm sure you're the same. There are those movies that you swore were going to be in the top 10. You're like, I guess they're not. I guess there are 10 other movies that I like better than that. So it's just, who knows if they can make a top 20? I'm sure they would all still be great. Or if they could nominate 20 movies or 20 people for a category, every one of them would be great or deserving, but they can't. There's just so many spaces.
All right, what's next?
Joe Self writes, in honor of today, who had the best on-screen romantic chemistry in a movie?
Oh, the best chemistry ever? Harrison Ford, Sean Connery for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, Jeremy,
There you
I
go.
think we're talking about
romance?
romantic chemistry.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
even though they were like tied together and bound in that one scene, it's not like a 50 Shades Darker
I say
situation.
Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner in Romancing the Stone.
That was great, actually. I mean, obviously, the answer
I know where you're going. I
is
know
Robin Wright and Carrie Yules. I mean, it's Princess Bride. That is obviously the answer. As you wish, bitch. I mean, that's exactly.
That's exactly
that
how he
movie,
said it, too.
Nothing has. I mean, that movie is so amazing. It's all because, to me, the chemistry between those two is so amazing right from the beginning. It's so cheesy and overdone, and yet it comes together so great. Yeah, Princess Bride. What
I
you?
caught a romantic flick on VH1 the other day, and it's a little ditty called The Bodyguard. Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston are so good in that movie because they come together. He's just their bodyguard. He's supposed to fall in love. Then they go on one date and they start dancing. And, oh man, I'm having other feelings right now. I'm your bodyguard, but I also am your secret lover. That movie's fantastic.
Side note, also a little bit of a more note. Do you remember? Did you guys see the speech that Kevin Costner gave at her funeral?
Oh, the eulogy was.
It was wonderful.
So good.
Yeah, it was really wonderful. It was a wonderful, touching, perfect kind of thing. It was really special. Let me ask you guys over there at the table, Ashley or Wendy, like when you think of great romantic on-screen chemistries, what do you guys think of?
I think the most popular answer that's so hot right now is Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, basically in everything that they do together. And I also love Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson and How to Lose
Oh my
a Guy
God, that's
in
what
10
I was
Days.
gonna say.
Yeah?
Yes, yes. And then
Girl.
of course Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. I almost said Watson in Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to bring up Crazy Stupid Love. They're so good in Crazy Stupid Love. By the way, a lot of people have not seen that movie. See Crazy Stupid Love. It's got those guys. It's also got Marissa Tomei, Steve Carell. It's Julie Andrews.
Bacon.
Did I say Julie Andrews? Not Julie Andrews.
not Julie Andrews.
Julianne Moore?
Julianne
Yeah.
Moore. Thank you.
And bacon.
And bacon. Lots of bacon. Check that out. It's really, really fun. Okay, what's next?
This one comes from Secret Fire Pub, who writes, can you help me understand why the Hobbit trilogy was criticized for its CGI, but Avatar was praised?
Well,
Because
I mean,
one was better than the other.
yeah, the CGI in Avatar does look better than the CGI.
One,
in
The Hobbit had
yeah.
a guy like jumping along bricks like a video game. I don't know if you remember that scene. There was a lot of really kind of semi-rushed, kind of
But I mean, make no
unsatisfying.
mistake, there was some incredible
yeah.
effects works in the
Yes.
Hobbit trilogy, but there were, and I'm a defender of the Hobbit trilogy,
Yeah.
not nearly as good as the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, but there are some questionable shots. But it's just so loaded with shots that it's hard to say.
Yeah, Avatar, and also keep in mind everything that we have for Weta now came no, this is for Lord of the Rings, but the Avatar stepped up the game. You know, it was like the CGI in Avatar. I'd never seen that before. Like I'd never seen CGI look that real for human being-ish skin texture and whatnot. I mean, you look at it, you're like, that's as real as I've ever seen it. The Hobbit didn't step that up. Avatar, if it looks better than a movie that comes out like 10 years later, you got to give props to the movie that came out a decade prior or a few years prior.
The one advantage, though, that Avatar had over the Hobbit trilogy was in The Hobbit, most of the scenes are live-action actors in a CG environment.
Yeah.
A lot of Avatar was all CG. Like, you had your human scenes inside practical environments, and then once you stepped outside, it was practically all CGI. So when you don't have that, contrasting perception of real human character in an artificial environment doing all that kind of stuff, it does become more challenging and more difficult, as opposed to just saying doing an all CGI thing where it becomes a little bit less noticeable if something's out of whack. So it did have a little bit of an advantage that way.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. 100,000 orcs showed up on set to fight that battle, and they did a damn good job.
All right, let's take two more.
All right, Sassy Milkshake writes,
Yeah.
are there side characters you would like to see return to the MCU? I'd like to see Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer again.
I don't. I love Sam Rockwell. That dude is a god among men. He's awesome. Did not like his character.
Really?
In that, yeah, no. It was too like, we're talking about the MCU, and it was too unbelievable. I mean, it was just like nobody that squirmy and backstabbing and wormish would gain anybody's trust ever. It was just too over the top. It just wasn't a good character. So while he's a phenomenal actor, I'm not interested in seeing him.
I want to see the Abomination
Oh,
and
absolutely.
the actor.
That's the one I was going to go with.
Yeah,
I
Roth,
want Abomination back to come back.
because he was
Tim
a great,
Roth.
yeah, Tim Roth, fantastic actor. He's trapped somewhere, maybe in that underwater bunker or something, but he'd be great to bring back.
You know, punching Nazis is always fun to do on occasion, so I would say bring back Red Skull because
Yeah.
he's also
Yeah.
trapped.
Yep.
Whereas he's like somewhere between Asgard and Earth, and he's just floating in some weird suspended animation domain. So bring back Red Skull. He's got a good mind that maybe Thanos can borrow some evil ideas from, and then we can kick his ass again.
I want the
Yeah.
end of Infinity War to be like Anchorman 2, where everyone just comes down, everyone cameos, every villain we've ever known, every hero we've ever known. I want to see that happen.
Yes!
I do agree with you that Red Skull's the one that they haven't brought back. I'm always like, that's the nemesis of Captain America. That'd be great to bring him back, you know? And funny thing is, Hammer was my favorite part in that
Really?
movie. Yeah. He was my favorite part of Iron Man 2.
Well, that was not a good movie.
Yeah, no, it wasn't one of the better Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but I'm still shaking my head on the fact that I said Avatar was 10 years before The Hobbit. It was only a few. Ha! Cleared that up. Now I don't have to hear about it in the comment section.
Oh, we could also bring back Ben Kingsley's character, and maybe he's actually the Mandarin.
A real
Right.
Mandarin. Remember, they did a digital short
Yeah.
with Ben Kingsley's character in prison, only the real Mandarin breaks him out because he wants to have words with him, and that's where they end it.
That's neat.
So, I mean, there is, I mean, who is the real Mandarin? It would be interesting for them to go back to that, too.
I would
Pirate
like to see
Roberts,
that.
Carrie Ellis.
I know they've used the Hammer logo in some of the
Yes.
other Marvel things, so the character is still around doing
And
stuff.
in Luke Cage, the series, they reference the suit that the bad guy wears at the end is from
Totally.
Hammer Industries,
Right.
so they reference it. I just don't think I want to see the character back. All right, last question of the day.
Last one comes from Clay Walker, who writes, would you like to see famous actors like The Rock in Star Wars, or do you think it would rather be odd to see a familiar face?
Well, I mean, no, not necessarily, because, you know, one of the good things about, if you want to look at the prequels, you know, you got a big, famous, A-list, one of the best actors in the world. You got Liam Neeson in there, and he worked. I mean, him as Qui-Gon Jinn, that worked. Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, maybe not as much. I mean, so there's a balance there a
Ewan
little bit.
McGregor, really well-known actor at the time.
Ewan McGregor wasn't super famous. All he had really done at that point was
He did
Train Spotting.
Yeah.
But
That
he
was
wasn't like, Mark Hamill, or he wasn't an
No,
unknown.
he wasn't a
He was an
total
established
unknown.
actor.
But
yeah.
to a lot of people, they had never heard of him before. Even if you go into, Rogue One, you got a couple of actors who have some name recognition, and it worked just fine.
Right.
But somebody like The Rock, somebody whose personality is bigger than their talent level, and I think The Rock is shaping into a nice actor, but his personality is grander than anything, right? That probably would be a little off-putting. I probably wouldn't want like him or a Jason Statham or something like that popping up in there. That probably wouldn't work for me. What do you guys think?
I agree with you that it's not just the size of the guy, because you can think like, oh, he could play some really beefy, Gamorrean guard dude or something like that. But
The Rock plays a Gamorrean
right,
guard.
but it is The Rock's charisma that really, I mean, that came through in Moana, So I mean, how do you hide that? And if you hide that, you're doing him a disservice. So I just don't think it would work. Also funny, Simon Pegg was in The Force Awakens.
Right.
He was one quota portion guy. So I
Right.
mean, I could see it being a case where if someone big is in a Star Wars movie, like Daniel Craig,
Daniel
was
Craig
also
was
there,
in Force
Stormtroopers.
Awakens.
and they're masked, and you find out like a month later, and it kind of blows your mind. But in terms of in your face, front and center, I like my unknowns.
Wasn't 98th Degree or Children of Kids or whatever? Weren't they in like Phantom Menace?
I think
Can't
there
remember
was
what the band
talk of that happening. I think In Sync or
In Sync,
something.
But no, they shot it, but they cut it all out.
I didn't even hear that they shot it. You heard they shot
Yeah,
it?
they were all there.
I
It was
heard
when
there was
George
discussions
Lucas,
about it.
It was when George Lucas and his kids were all like dressed up as blue people, like walking in front of green screen. They had some scene where all of them were like in front of a green screen, And it would have just been like if the camera pans past The Rock and he's like, "How you doing?" It would just throw you out of the movie. So I
Although The
think that
Rock,
kind
a
of-
lot of people don't realize, The Rock was in the Star Trek universe. He was in an episode of I think it was either Deep Space Nine or the original where he played like some alien gladiator.
You're totally not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look it up. He was. The Rock was in
You
there.
went so deep into a nerd well to pull that one out. My God. I think it's a case-by-case basis, and I agree. While there was a lot of star power in the prequels, you primarily were relying on people who were famous for their acting abilities. As much as I love The Rock, he's not famous for his acting ability. I love Kevin Hart. He's not famous for his acting abilities. So somebody like Denzel Washington or Russell Crowe, I think, could fit into that universe so well. I think that it's harder of a blend to get somebody who's known for just being big and charismatic into the Star Wars universe.
I just got a little bit of a semi just thinking of Russell Crowe as a sage Jedi old master. Like that would be amazing.
Fun fact, Russell Crowe is actually an episode of Star Trek Voyager.
And also, Russell Crowe is playing Jekyll in the brand new Mummy film.
You guys want to see some Kate Mulgrew?
Van
in,
Helsing.
Star
I
Wars?
love Van Helsing.
All right, that'll do it for this installment of Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank the guys sitting around the table with me. So first of all, sitting over there, a little bit later today on Heroes, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp. Getting all sweaty later today on Heroes. We've got a lot of superhero news to talk about.
Right beside me, Mr. Jeremy Jahns, who wears suits and has Sideshow collectibles in his apartment.
You went there. We brought it full circle, John. Boom, you get your Valentine's card back. You can find me at Jeremy Jahns on YouTube, Twitter, rest of the internet. You can find my show, Awesome-tacular, on the Verizon Go 90 network, where we talk sweaty comic book movies with Jon Schnepp. Mark Ellis and I do some fun craziness, play some video games. I need to go back to play Resident Evil 7 after this to take on the Black Tar guys who killed Tasha Yar in Star Trek The Next Generation.
Right here, Mr. Mark Ellis.
You can find me this weekend at the St. Louis Funny Bone. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. The Schmoes Know Live show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. And like I said at the top of the show, happy Van Halentine's Day to everybody. Don't let your lover give you the runaround. Get some pound cake. You'll be on top of the world in Amsterdam. Don't leave Jamie crying.
Wow. Wow. You went deep with the nerd and stuff
some deep
there,
cuts
right there.
Yeah.
So, sitting over there, you can find her drinking a half bottle of wine in the aisles of your local grocery store later. Miss Ashley Mova.
You mean
where can you find
tequila?
her?
I am not a pussy. You guys can find me on
Yes,
Twitter,
Ashley.
Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova. Happy Tuesday, guys.
And, of course, Wendy, who has not been single for about 25 years, Lee. Wendy, where can people find you online?
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And, of course, for Valentine's Day, the most romantic thing happening in the world. My wife's hopping on a plane to fly to the Philippines. So, what does that say? I'm not really...
night. You want to come over to my place? You want some deal-based
I heard you could replay the Old Republic.
You guys can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm so lonely. Simply at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.